Alrighty, what up? We're back with the Altar Show. My name is Eddie Santasy, and today is my first virtual interview. And my man Deon Barnes came through. He's a man of many names. Deon Barnes come through. He's just man of many talents. Actually, I don't even want to try to ramble these off. I remember when I met you, we just kind of like started. We meshed really well because there's a music background, a creative
Yep.
background, and all of that. But I wanted to bring you on because I see the work that you're doing. I see that the presence that you already have in Omaha is growing, and I think I want to showcase the people that have seen the challenges and have broken through the challenges, but also there's still new challenges there, and so like for you guys to get the chamber award, I think it was that a year ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah, a couple years back. Yeah, Small Business of the Year.
Yeah, so that in itself is a huge achievement. I know people are like, "Oh, who cares?" It's like, no, like to be acknowledged by your peers is a big thing, especially nowadays because of how competitive things are because everyone can see how everyone's working. And so
Mm.
to receive something like that, I just kind of wanted to bring you on and kind of hear your perspective of where you're at. And then later on we could get into like how you even got into it because I know that's a deeper story. But it's kind of like right now, like where is Dion at?
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure to be on. It's always good to connect with you. Yeah, I think when we first met, it was really just a daily grind. It was really just about trying to figure out how to get that next dollar, how to get that next client, and then just strategizing how to grow together. And we've all, both of us and the whole team, we've just kind of I wouldn't say we've matured, but we've grown in our maturity. I don't feel like any of us are at our peak, but we've just grown to a level where we've done some things at this point, and it's cool to look back and even see you know evolving in fatherhood and your role as a husband, and then also as a creative, so where I'm at right now is kind of similar thing, just kind of growing in my space, really focusing on a specific set of gifts. Because like you said, yeah, we have the musical background, we have the sports background as well, and really just focusing in right now on content creation and really leveraging AI and leveraging software. So that's where I'm at right now. I would say I put music aside, but music it's a part of you once you so it's always there, it's always a beat or something that I'm
Did it catch
dreaming
you?
up. Yeah. So it's always there, but the focus, the thing I'm intentionally getting skilled at, I would say the third thing is language. So,
Mm.
I've been studying Spanish, and then, when you talk about web development, things like that, that's another language. So just studying language a lot right now.
Yeah, AI is actually spurring that along like at a I wouldn't say exponential pace, but bro, AI the way you can translate using AI and use a voiceover or a cloned voice that translates my sound and tone of my English voice into like
Mm.
Spanish. Have you seen those?
Hmm.
Though it's crazy. I was like, because it sounds like me speaking Spanish. Like it was I think it was 11 Labs I was using. Yeah, they do the voice cloning and you can translate. I was like, yo, it's kind of spooky, but reality is more crazier than fiction nowadays. Like or science fiction. Like it's so like it's happening so fast, and I like how you said it. Like you're focusing on it because we're seeing the new wave. Like we're seeing this new transition from a different was like the industrial revolution. Now this tech revolution, yeah, it happened in the dot com and stuff, but it's about to exponentially go crazy right now with AI.
Yeah.
Uh, I used the other day DeepSeek. Obviously, that's in the news. I
Hmm.
just threw in there a random ass create me a AI bot that helps with trading, just to see what it do, bro. And I
Mm.
tell you, it was like, and it started spitting out. You need to create a code. You need to make sure you check these parameters, and then it started writing the code for me.
Wow.
bro. I was
Wow.
like, what? It was like, and it was like, this will get you started. At the end, it was like, this will get you started. You need to run some checkpoints or something. I was like, what is going on? Like, it all of the know how to go into coding and stuff and like school and all of that. Just
Hmm.
a prompt will get you in a good place. And I'm like, yeah, this is really revving up. And so I'm like you. I'm trying to stay ahead of it. I made
Hmm.
some AI videos. It's just basically about digitizing history because that's kind of where I'm at in storytelling. And it is something that is top of mind. I'm being very calculated with it, even in my work. We want to make sure that when we document things that are happening, that it's digitized for history, so we can check back and hold people accountable. Because a lot of the history, a lot of how we're here today, the victors wrote the history books, and it's
Hmm.
not necessarily what happened, you know.
Yeah.
And so just kind of I want to stay on that pathway as far as like where you're going with your focus. Like, what made you be like, you know what, let me shift. I need to be more focused on these couple things, and like, why is that a priority for you now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say probably around the time of our chamber awards because we won small business of the month and then followed up the next winter we won small business of the year. So that had to be about 2021. And so what I started to realize was that the companies of the future are going to be the ones that have the best software architecture. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in. It doesn't matter if you want to go into accounting or if you want to go into, you know, farming. The companies that are using the most advanced software are going to be the ones that are going to win because having great software now is like having the best lever. It's like having the biggest, strongest lever. So
Mm,
the leverage back in the day might have been like you had natural resources, right? You had water or
mm-hmm,
you had more, natural minerals at your disposal. All of
mm-hmm,
that stuff is going to become a commodity where people have enough of everything to be able to get the maximum amount of work done that any human can do. And so, what's the differentiator? Well, it's like Jeff Bezos says it the best that um, customer experience is really what was driving this economy that you're describing, like this tech revolution, this almost like service economy. And so you what you really need to do is like abstract out as much of the laborious stuff as you possibly can so that you can streamline your processes that passes on the best customer experience. And so that's what it's really all about is just like creating the best customer experience for whatever thing I work on. And software allows me to move really, really fast and really, really efficiently at everything else. So I can just focus on the experience that people are having. We just texted a client this morning. You can probably see right behind me, we've got a couple gift baskets.
mm,
So we handing out gift baskets. So having software, right, it gives me back more time so that I can go hand deliver that gift basket as opposed to like trying to send them a gift card via email. It's like, oh, that's nice, a little gift card, but it's way more tailored if I can show up in person and hand this to you and say, oh, wow, this is really thoughtful. So this experience that we're creating really drives sales and people recommending you, right? It's like, hey, I had a good experience over here, so I want to work with these guys. So that's what it's about. That's what motivated it. But as I work with it more and more, I'm just realizing that, you know, and you just mentioned too, like Chat GPT is just one powerful AI tool. It's like there's handfuls of them now, and
right.
you need to find the right suite of technology. Maybe for a
Mm-hmm,
video editor, that's Adobe plus CapCut plus some really good facial tracking camera. And
mm-hmm,
that's your AI stack. For another company, it might be having a really good self-driving car combined with, you know, Toast API integration,
Right, right.
and so that's where it's headed. And so the people that get in front of that are going to be the winners. And you said another thing, the last thing you said was like in the past, the the victors wrote the story.
Mm-hmm.
When in the future, the victors can be anybody,
Mm-hmm.
and the victors of the future will write their own story.
Man.
So instead of, right? So in the
Yep.
past, the victors wrote everybody else's story. In the future, the victors will write their own story.
Yeah, I think you're hitting the nail on the head for me. Like that's where I'm very, very like intentional. I'm intentional about because people use the or businesses and people just naturally they use the story guide or the story brand behind like a lot of how to like not it basically is like sell and brand towards customers. But what's really awesome about it is we're naturally creatures of story, right? And
Mm,
so just us documenting our journey on our socials, that in itself is a documentation slash archive of what's happening. And most of the time people post their highlights, right? And then a lot of times, well, nowadays people are posting their lowlights and they're kind of getting fame off of that, which is kind of wild.
yeah.
But they one of the things that like is I guess like not paramount, but it is like it's just owning your narrative and your voice and being able to like speak about it with pride and speak about because I don't want to say this, but the people use trauma bonds to connect with people. But it does connect with people. And I don't want to talk down on it because it's powerful, but I want I would like for all of that to be this is I know I'm saying this is like a kind of a corny, but I want it to be a holistic approach to like being trustworthy. Because I think what you're talking about, even with your businesses that you're dropping that gift baskets off to, there's a level of relationships, there's a level of trustworthiness. Like, oh wow, this is why we trust them. They're so like down to earth, very very personable. That obviously has been lost a
Mm,
lot. What I would say with the social media age, that face to face interaction kind of came back a little bit with Zoom, but it became detached because people start working from home. And so the in-face personal conversation, all of that kind of feels a little weird to some people nowadays. But we're bringing that back to me. Like even the couple of podcasts I've recorded prior, I was like, I need to do face-to-face podcasts because the power of them, it's palpable. Like you can feel it. You're like, whoa, like someone they shared some things. I'm just like, wow, and it made me take a minute to like sit in what they were saying so I could feel it and not just be chatty patty with it. Because when you get on a
mhm,
Zoom, I could be on my phone like listening and like, or I could have another conversation in a Zoom chat with someone else about what this person is saying, and it does take away from it. I think that sometimes that aspect adds to it. Like let's say there's a project going on and someone's presenting them like, hey, this is a good thing that we need to do. We need to add to. I think that that's good, but Zoom is good. It's a double edged sword, right? But like I think what you're talking about as far as the trustworthiness, and what I'm talking about, um, like the accountability of people. Like if I meet you and I see your facial inflections and kind of just what you're saying and how you're saying it, your tone and all of that, that helps me be like, okay, this is someone I can have accountability with if I have business with them or whatever. And that's kind of what I wanted to do with or kind of where I'm headed in like this digitizing our history, right? And so like
mhm,
a lot of the um anyways, a lot of that is just based off of where this tech age I feel like is going. It's going to me. I feel like it's going into this like where what you're saying. Everyone will be able to be their own victor and they writing their own story. And so it just it's just funny how when you say I was like, gee, that's such a good way to put it. Like everyone's the victor in their story because of the documentation of things. And so a lot of what you guys do, just with Stable Gray. I kind of want to bring that up, like the growth of Stable Gray and how you guys now have multiple locations. Can you go ahead and speak on that?
Yeah, yeah. So we started in the basement of my house, and the initial plan, I think, was just to try to help some companies out there with logos and stuff. Especially for me, I was just coming out of Omaha Code School, so I know you have more nationwide reach. So the people um that were in contact with me really were just looking at me as like, well, what can you do? And it's like, okay, I already have my web development day job, and through my graduation with Omaha Code School, I went into tech as a front end web developer. Actually, I was actually full stack, but I did more front end than back end. And so full stack is, front end, what you see, and the back end is on the servers. So I did a little bit of both, but mostly front end. But on the side, we would do these design and creative projects. So I was still kind of scratching my itch there with the photos and music and stuff like that. And I would say within 6 months, we started to realize like, oh, this isn't slowing down. It's not just that first couple of people you thought you had, but yeah, this is picking up. And so we did a few projects in the basement of my house, and then we struck a deal with, at the time it was Bridge Church and Abide, but we struck a deal to get our studio. Well, it's our studio now, but at that time we just had like a backdrop and some stands and some little lights. And on the other side, we had to like cut in half because we couldn't afford a big space or anything. And so on the other side was like our office. And it was very difficult to like have business meetings and stuff like that, and then be having photo shoots and other things going on. And so when the opportunity came up, we found a deal down on 24th and Lake Street in Omaha where we could do our headquarters. And so we moved the office setting stuff from the photo studio down to 24th Street and expanded the photo studio into a full room dedicated to photo studio. And I think it was around that time that we were working together, we started kind of having these conversations about like, what does it look like to now that we're not in here every day? How do we give other people access to this space? And the original name was like Access Camera or Access Photo Studio. And the idea was just like, how can we give people access? And we started that just privately with some folks that we knew, and it started picking up. And so we purchased some more equipment, and then we ended up getting a grant and built out that space. So now there's one, two, three, four different sets. So there's colored paper backdrops, fabric backdrops, and then we have all kinds of stuff for product photography, a pure or carousel and a white room and all of that stuff. So that was then. Since then, we've expanded on the other side to add podcasting. So for those who know, on the campus up there, it used to be called Leona's Dance Studio. We acquired that space. And so now we have right around like 3,000 square feet of production space,
Wow.
one side for photo and the other side for video and podcasting. And so, the vision going forward is so the original name was Access Camera. We've rebranded it as the Content Parlor. And so the Content Parlor is a social club for content creators, and that's the vision going forward. Instead of us just offering a space with some backdrops and some lighting, we're kind of creating like a golf club for content creators. So there's programming, there's networking events, there's access to rent gear and rent equipment, rent the space itself, practice your swing before you go out there in the real world. And then we also rent out the gear as well. So now you can go up to the studio, you can rent, a Blackmagic camera, you can rent out a Sony A7 something and take that off site to your shoot and then bring it back. Just don't break it, or else you gotta pay us for it. But that's where it's at now. And so 24th Street is our headquarters, and that's all corporate stuff. So if you can think of it, it's like 24th Street is Stable Gray, the photo studio, the content parlor studio is um, a separate brand that's really just like a social club. So all things for content creators, networking, job opportunities, um, gear, conversations amongst each other. So that's the content parlor. And then we also have the content parlor podcast. And so, shameless plug, we are working on a conference called the Parlor Awards. That will be piloted in the fall of 2025. And the Parlor Awards is kind of an extension of that networking piece. It's that place where, because right now, unless you're creating content, like how do you tap in on a content parlor? Really, if you're not on the podcast, there's no way to interface with it. So the conference gives people a place to see the whole group, to chat with each other, and then to network amongst each other. You don't have to talk to me. You could just talk to the person over there that you've been meaning to chat with and hire them or whatever you want to do. So that's kind of where we're at right now. And I think going forward, it's going to be super important, bro, because this AI thing, like you said, it is serious, man, and it's moving fast. And most people just, I talk about it all the time, and I probably talk about it so much that people don't realize how serious this stuff is. I mean, they're testing out a cure to cancer right now, and there's a company that's creating basically the matrix. They're creating a matrix where they can simulate everything you could possibly imagine. They're trying to simulate this in this virtual world
Yep.
and test it there thousands of times in this simulated world, and then come up. The software is going to do this and then spit out back to you like
A
what the
solution.
solution.
Yep.
Yeah. So this stuff is
Bruh.
it's and that's like 5-10 years away. So we gotta really get ready. And content creators are gonna be like what could we call that? They're gonna be like the industrial revolution workers of the future. Like they're gonna be the stable
Yep.
jobs. And
Yep.
everybody else is gonna be scrambling. So that's why we're getting in position.
I love how you said that because the factory workers were the content creators then. Was what it's going to be now. It's going to be an abundance of jobs. The industrial revolutionary industrial revolution hit, and there was a whole bunch of factories, and people filled into those, and they made a good living doing that. Content creators, us getting ahead of that, that's kind of similar to me, and I like how you broke that down. I do want to speak. I want to go back to what you were talking about the two separate locations and kind of just all of what that is and what it entails. And I want to salute you because this is something that is dear. It was dear to my heart. I don't live in Omaha anymore, but I respected the fact that you guys were intentional about being in North Omaha, a place where there's a desert of many sorts. Many industries have a desert in North Omaha. There's not a lot of grocery produce. Design studios obviously was the one where we were talking about, and I want to, I guess, give you guys your flowers on being intentional about being in North Omaha because me and my wife, our businesses were specifically in North Omaha also because we were like, hey, we have to become the draw in order to create this like abundance type of mindset. Um, and I think that you guys' framework of headquarters here, uh, production here, like even having that and then having it being local to where black businesses, small businesses can have access directly to you on a bus route. You know what I mean? If they're like starting and they're like, damn, I have a really good idea and they can get to you quick. I think that is something that's one. I think it's needed. Two, I think the way that you guys created that like ecosystem of what you're doing, even obviously the Parlor Awards, I think that's amazing because now you're giving people an opportunity to come They can vlog that awards. They can create content at it. I know you guys are gonna have like probably some dope backdrops of them coming in and like, oh, we're at this, we're at the parlor, whatever. Because obviously that helps your brand, but it's helping them to show like, hey, there is spaces that are in Omaha that are creative spaces. Because there are other rooms doing the same thing, or other rooms. There was another room actually doing it, but like there are other spaces doing that, and sometimes
Hmm.
they close, sometimes they shift owners, they shift people who are in there, and for you guys to be a constant and to kind of create this dynamic, I think that it doesn't go undersaid. Because obviously, you guys won the Better Business of the Year award, Small Business of the Year award, and I just like the intentionality because one, what it does, it shows like, oh wow, there is value in this type of community, and I guess I kind of want to ask you to kind of speak to that type of like mindset and where you see and why you even made that decision.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. We got those flowers, from the chamber, but it's a lot of thankless days, so I appreciate that. The reason for me, I'm sure, everybody in the office would say something different, but for me, it just comes down to, the journey that I took to get here. You know, I was a kid that graduated late from high school, grew up fatherless most of my childhood. I was never taught that being a creative was a path. Was never taught how to go to college. I started college when I was 27. Nobody showed me like how to get enrolled into college. I tried to enroll at UNO, University of Nebraska at Omaha. I got rejected because I probably didn't fill it out right or whatever, or maybe my GPA was low. I don't know,
Right.
but I got the rejection letter, and I was just like, oh, I guess I can't go to college. So then I just went on about my life after high school, and until I ran into this opportunity to go to truck driver training, and that's what got me back in school mode because I did so well in truck driver training. The trainer was like, "Are you sure you want to do this for a living? Because you're like the top scoring student we've ever had in here. Like I graduated out of there with like a 99 or something." And he was like, "I'm pretty sure you could go back to college and do very well." And just that little thing just sparked the
Mm,
confidence for me to try again. And so for me, it's just about like people being able to see that it is possible. And, the whole reason I picked up a camera is when I graduated from um, community college, there was no media coverage. And I'm sure you recall like all of the shootings and, when you lived here, all the different media coverage when something bad happens. But there's hardly any coverage. Like who are the top five valedictorians out of North Omaha in any year? I mean, 2020, 2015. I mean, you can't name anybody that graduated with like a 4.0 GPA, even though that is incredibly hard to do and incredibly awesome. Nobody talks about it. And so
right.
it's like that's what motivated me to pick up a camera. It was just like we got to start telling our own stories because nobody else is celebrating us. And so that's what drives it. Being in North Omaha is that's where I grew up. That's I used to walk this street right here. I mean, my mom used to come down here when it was the Blue Lion Center and
Mm.
get food stamps. And yeah, I was right on this I'm literally looking out right now on the street where I learned about like cameras and video and stuff. The guy, Jim Nelson Media Services, was right across the
Oh wow,
street.
yeah, the OIC.
Yeah, that's literally where I started this
Yeah, yeah.
video stuff. And so like it for me, it's just always been about, I know there's kids around here and I may never meet them. I may never speak to them, but they're gonna see that logo. They're gonna hear about it. Their mom knows. There's somebody in their family might talk about it. Oh, what's the name did our logos? And so it just gives people inspiration that this is the lane for them. You can be a creative. You can pick up a camera. Yeah, you, not the person down the street. You can do it. And so that's what it's about for me. I'm sure everybody else has their own reasons. And then yeah, I just want to see North Omaha thrive, man. Even if we don't get our biggest contract here in the state of Nebraska, I just want North Omaha to thrive. I just want it to be a place that's recognized. And that's why I love, I got to shout some people out. I love what Bud Crawford is doing on the national level, putting Omaha. I mean, he wears Omaha across his trunks. I'm
Global
like, man,
level. Global
glow. I
level.
mean, excuse me, Crawford. Excuse me,
Yeah, yeah,
brother.
you gotta chill out,
Global.
bro. Add that on there.
But it's just, and he's not the only one. You got Houston Alexander, you got several athletes, Amon Green, Kenton Keith. I mean, it's a lot of, and Chevy, Chevy, she's an icon in my opinion. She's sung in her circles, but
Hmm.
she's like a trailblazer, some of the stuff she's doing in the women's athletics. And so we just got to have those stories be more prominent, and then the younger generations will start to see, now wait a second, I
Right.
could actually XYZ. So that's what it's about for me.
Right. No, I think I like how you're presenting it because I feel the same way. Like my story's a little different. I had to go out of town to hear or to see that our voice wasn't being captured. And then when I came back, I was like, whoa, this is happening here too. I knew something was wrong in like where I was growing up. I just didn't know like the parameters. I didn't know the framing of how messed up it was because I grew up. Everyone was poor where I grew up, and I didn't. I thought everyone was like that. The first time I seen like a huge house, it was like by Creighton Prep. They invited us over, and I went over. And I'm like, this is your house, and I was like, what? Because you see it on TV, it's so disconnected. Before then, I never went past 72nd and Dodge. You know what I mean? So I was just like, I was very limited in what I was exposed to, and then I start seeing that. But I think I like how you said it. Like a kid can see it and be like, oh, this is possible. When you were talking about it, I was thinking just the visual of the stable gray of your guys on the building, how it comes out. It's like, what is that? Like it just it's a pop to it. There is like
Mm,
this just being visible and having a presence adds or it aids to an abundance mindset, right? And so
mm,
I think, and even how you said, like your biggest contract may not come in the state. Obviously, there's a lot of like parameters and certain hurdles that we, as the minority population, face just based off of how we look. We kind of got to go above and beyond. Which, to be honest, I like it because it's like, yo, now I'm undeniable.
mm,
Whereas sometimes some firms or whatever they can get gigs and it's like they obviously got it, and I tend to
mm.
I tend to put that aside. I'm like, you know what? Sometimes scammers scam and they win, but
Yeah.
when it comes down to it, the the work itself it'll show. Like if I do good work, they're gonna be like, wow, this is good. And then when I up my price and they say, "Oh, what do you think about the other price?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah." I mean, by any means, if you can find someone with that, my capacity. I'm finding that language of how to like find my customers or uh find my audience, right? I'm not charging anything now, but I just know because people ask me all the time. I'm like, no, I'm not working, doing any gigs. I work a 9 to 5 doing what I do, but I just get all these offers, and I'm like, oh, no, let me take that back. I don't get all these offers. I get offers, and it's like $750. I'm like, I wouldn't even charge that just to shoot the event. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So like, it's just very, it feels very good to know the value that I have, so that when the younger generation comes up, they're going to be able to have that confidence to ask for a higher uh uh value. Like they'll just have a better idea of what their value is in this space of creating, this space of being like the being like controlling the narrative for our voice, because people could come in here and get jobs easily the way that Omaha's community foundations are set up, the nonprofits are set up. People can come in there and like, hey, we want to do this for your community, and they can make some money off of it. They get paid to
Mm.
create content off of people being poor, and I like that pissed me off. That made me kind of like be super back away from a lot of nonprofit stuff. But I'm like, damn, I can't even get mad at them doing that. They just finding an opportunity. But I want to help
Mm-hmm.
kids. I want to help people understand like, hey, the stuff that we grew up in, like we are the not saviors, but we are the solution makers for that. And so, again,
Mm-hmm.
this is just the intentionality of being there, um, is and the reason why that I still like all the people I talk to are black and brown. I'm not saying I'm not going to have a white guest, but the people I want to talk to is the people who are going through the trenches like me. They have the
Mm-hmm.
same fights like me, because everyone that listens to this, they're going to find some type of relatability. They ain't got to be black or brown. They
Yeah.
they're going to feel like, "Oh wow, that's similar to this fight that I have," or whatever. And so, again, the intentionality, I think that that is lacking in a lot of people's perspectives, because they don't, sometimes they're like, all right, well, I got to operate in this white world, and I'm just like, yo, we got abundance too. We're under, I super hate that saying, oh, the underserved community. No, we can serve ourselves. We're under resourced. And so for you creating the intentionality and you guys kind of helping that, I think that that's another part of us kind of being the solution for a lot of the problems that are that kind of plague our community. So
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of gatekeeping as well.
mhm,
And I mean, that's everywhere. And I think that makes it relatable too, but especially in our community because we're not perceived as there's like an industry standard, which is just for lack of better words, like it's just like a whitewashed standard that's been
yep,
created for all of us. And it's like if you don't do it that way, it's not professional.
right,
And so there's a lack of confidence that we can do it that way when we totally can. We went to the same schools, we were sitting right next to y'all in the classrooms. Like, we know how to do it, but the perception isn't always there that we're capable. And so we've like what you're saying, we've had to prove ourselves on top of proving ourselves a lot of time to get to that same place. So it's all strategic with being able to actually grow something here.
right,
Because if you don't, um if you're not intentional, like you said, you know, you can be real talented. I'll just say that. Like you can be real talented, you can have all these skills, but if you're not persistent and intentional here, you can get swallowed up really quick. So yeah, everything you're saying, man, is solid because people don't realize that the plight for us is it's a lot more than our skin color. We're navigating the same things everybody else is. Like I'll just give you a perfect example. Like you take like a restaurant, right? There's been a standard set by McDonald's and Burger King of like how walking into a restaurant should feel, how the cashier experience should be, receiving your food should be. Those are commercial franchise standards that have like they're like subliminally like ingrained in our mind. So then when we walk in a restaurant that's African American or whatever, and they don't do it that way, then it's like they're not professional. But the food might be more natural. They may have taken a lot more time with the cut. The cut might be a better piece of meat. The noodles might actually be cooked better than that high end steakhouse you went to. But because the standard has been set over here, if you don't do it that way, then it's like this is some bad food or this is a bad experience. And so I'm just picking on the restaurant industry, but that's the kind of stuff we deal with is just like you got to have the right POS system. That costs money. You got to have
yep,
the right staff. You got to have this. We don't talk like everybody talks. So if you're not talking so you got to hire people that can code switch and you got all this stuff you got to navigate on top of just starting the business and
mhm.
making sure your paperwork is you got to do all that plus all this other stuff. So yeah, it's definitely challenging. It's definitely challenging. I don't. One thing I think sometimes is like we hear the success story and we're just like Oh, they're just always good at this. It's like, do you have any idea? Like, we're good. We'll be 10 years this summer.
Wow.
Now think about where, my Caucasian counterpart, where their business would be at in 10 years of doing it like this. So, we've had to grind those first like 3, 4 years just to get to year one for a Caucasian company. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So, and it's no knock on them. If you got the advantage, use your advantage. I'm not mad at you, but we're gonna get ours too.
Facts. Nah, yeah, because we can obviously beat this situation up because it's it is a known struggle in all industries. Not even just an entrepreneur. Like you can have a 9 to 5 and still have these issues trying to work your way up the ladder, right?
Yeah,
So
facts.
I don't want to stay on that, but I do want to add in that the experience that we have, we need to be willing to, well, we don't need to be. I would like for us to be willing to give up all that experience to our counterparts. Like, hey, this worked for me. This did not work for me. This group did not help me. This group helped me, and like be very distinct with it because we get competitive when we get a good thing, and we're like, I don't want them to take this from me. See, but
Mm-hmm.
that's where the abundance mindset's like, you know what? If they take it, they did a better job than me. I'm better at this anyway. Like I'm better at like video. I'm pretty decent with photos. Way better at audio. Like I know what I'm good at. If someone else takes something from me, I'm like, they're better than that. Building a website, I can make a Squarespace. I can use a web builder and make it decent. But I just think that we need to be more sharing of the information instead of gatekeeping. Like that was big to me. I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
I want to give away what I learned because I would hate for someone to come in or I wish someone when I came in, someone would be like, "Hey, yo, do set this up first. This is the route you want to attack. You want these type of vendors or clients initially because they're going to help you go to this type of client. This is the kind of
Mm-hmm.
pricing you need to start with." Like I wish somebody would have did that for me. I would have been further along, just kind of like how you're talking about. You have the leverage, and so when that comes along, I think that that helps with the next generation like my daughter,
Yeah.
like for them, like if they want to start it, like I have a creative agency because if they want to start a business, what kind of business you want to start? All this experience I got, I'm giving it to you, and we going from there. They're gonna figure out, they're gonna sink or swim if they want to be an entrepreneur, and I think that we can give everyone that shot because in America, an entrepreneur is or a business owner, someone that's kind of out there on their own. You have the most benefits of just living in America, tax breaks, opportunities, networking, access, resources. You have the most opportunity to receive those if you to me, if you're an entrepreneur and not like a regular 9 to 5, you can have a 9 to 5 too, but you kind of got to have a really high skill set to be up there to kind of be
Mm-hmm.
in the realm where, just entrepreneurs kind of have who are hitting it at the highest level.
Yeah, I heard somebody talking on social. I saw some on social media. I think like Tuesday. The guy was like, "Yo, like, can we normalize like working a regular job? Like, everybody don't want to be a." I'm sure. I was like, this dude is going in a little bit because, like, it. I mean, now having gone through it, like, it's not for everybody. First of all, and second of all, it's not easy, and so it's. I mean, if there was another agency like ours before we did this, and I could have just went and worked for them, I probably would have been cool with that. Like it's a lot of work. So I think entrepreneurship is a path, it's a move, but you can make good money working for another company if you got a nice skill set too. And let's not forget, entrepreneurship too. So
Yeah.
you can come into a business and then help them innovate and stuff. So the gold standard don't got to be owning your own XYZ ABC. You got to find where you're the right marriage of time and I mean, and that's kind of where I kind of get hung up on is like where's the work life balance at?
Right.
If the work life balance is working a 9 to 5, then rock with that.
That's
If
true.
it's what I'm saying, because if you're not going to be happy if you're making $500 million a year, but you're working 23 hours a day,
Right.
you're not. Yeah, great, you got money, but you're about to die. Like
Right. Right.
you got to sleep. So it's
Nah, for real.
Yeah.
But that's where this AI and quantum computing is coming in, bro. Like, so I'm not trying to bring us back to that topic, but in order to kind of be to me, I think in order for me to have an abundance mindset, I need to be willing to update our people on the opportunities, the technology, the access that is available for free right now, for free.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
had actually had a conversation with a buddy of mine. He was just talking about, he was hinting to what he was trying to work on. He didn't want to ask me for like tips or he did, but he was like he's beating around the bush. And then he ended up telling me what he was thinking about, and I was like, all right, cool. I was like, I'm gonna tell you this: AI is where you need to be. I was like, he didn't like his job, he doesn't like his job. I was like, you're gonna suffer two ways: working the same job you're doing, or you're gonna suffer learning something for a year, and then that year, all of a sudden, now you got a good skill asset with it. Now you can take that to any company, create your own company. I was like, AI is speeding up learning for us. You're just the best way I put it to him, I was like, you're gonna learn how to create your own freedom by being able to to find a skill using AI. He was like, how do you do it? I was like, you have to use it. You have to
Hmm.
just dive in. You have to like, what is a prompt?
Got to.
Put that into chat GPT. It's gonna tell you what a prompt is. Okay, how do I get the best usage out of it? And I broke it down basic. I was like, all the questions you asking me, and I'm trying to tell you, and you're like, wait, so what is? Put that shit into Chat GPT. It's gonna give you a good breakdown. The more and more you use it, the more and more it learns you, because it's like, oh, this person doesn't really know. And then if you the way that you ask it questions, it shapes the answers or the solutions for you based off of how you're interacting with it. And
Hmm.
so I kind of broke that down to him. He was like, okay, I could see how this could be beneficial in certain ways. And I was like, we had this conversation. You need to use it now. Like, don't just be like, all right, I'm
Right.
gonna go back to work. And I think that that's where we get tripped up is on the not usage, but like doing the hard thing, which is learning something new because it's challenging.
Yeah. 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 Best advice for sure is if you can't do anything else with AI, I tell people at least get the $20, what is it, plus or whatever, Chat GPT plus, just like the $20 a month. Just try it out for a month, and you'll start to see like the power of it. I mean, the free version is great, but if you add in the plus, basically you get to write way more prompts. It can produce more volume of responses for you, and so that's where it becomes more useful than the free version. But I just tell people like if you can't do anything else, try to do that. Spend that $20 and just see what it's like. If you're not able to do that, then there it kind of depends on the industry you're in because Gemini is really crazy
Yeah.
now. You just mentioned DeepSeek. That's a brand new one. That's allegedly more powerful than Chat GPT. I think it depends on what you're using it for, but it can be more powerful than Chat GPT. So there's other stuff out there, and
Right.
and I would say even if you can't get any of that, just get you a Gmail account and start using Google Drive because there's a lot of AI tools in Google Drive that'll help speed up your workflows and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I could list off a ton of different software and stuff. It just depends on the industry. But if people aren't using AI, I would say like if you're not, this is like a hot take. If you're not using AI by the end of 2025, you're in some serious trouble. You're in some serious trouble, man. Your job is at risk. Your your ability to catch up later on is at huge risk. You putting a lot of stuff at risk if you're not using AI by the end of 2025.
Wow. I would agree. And so even me, I have a like my 9 to 5 is like environmental justice, and AI. I think there's a lot of issues with it because of how we power it, how it needs like it has all these um you need to cool it down because it's like these supercomputers are, they're trying to power them with nuclear plants and to get more power out of them. DeepSeek actually, to me, it adds a wrench in the plan of all these big companies trying to go to nuclear. They're using older technology that is outputting the same type of solutions that ChatGPT has, and they're using advanced, up to date tech that hasn't even come out. And so
Mm-hmm.
for DeepSeek to do that as a research project and for that to be the same as ChatGPT's like ability to output prompts, I think that
Mm-hmm.
that shows the shows how humans evolve to kind of find solutions that are beneficial for everyone. It sounds bad, but like we really can't we can't stop people from uh, uh, pursuing more and more tech. Like, because for us, environmental justice, a lot of tech pursuit is off of, unfortunately, like it's a lot of like fossil fuel. It's a lot of like
Mm-hmm.
nuclear energy. It's these chips, these cobalt mines, lithium mines. They're getting these minerals in a terrible way. Like these
Mm-hmm.
people who are like obviously over in Africa, I think it's the Congo. They have like the cobalt mines, and like kids are down there on their hands and knees, like barefoot, and just picking
Mm-hmm.
up this radioactive material. Or it's dangerous, and like no one is there to like have any type of regulations, and so all of that. But it comes here, and we take the chips and we prop it or we put it together, processors, all of this, and now they're going out. Now we got quantum computing and all of these things. I do think that AI is going to benefit us entirely, like a UBI, like a universal basic income, because I'm not saying all the jobs are going to be gone, but like there's going to be so much profit from it. It's like, all right, you guys made a lot of money that
Mm-hmm.
can be dispersed to people just to live comfortably because you and it kind of took their jobs. And I'm not saying this. I'm not uh like yeah, AI is gonna make it to where we're in a utopia. I don't believe that. I believe we as humans still have flaws and that we need to fix a lot of the things that are happening. But I believe that AI can be used to change the future for the better. Some people don't agree, and I understand that, but I'm very optimistic in humans and where we're going because we're evolving, we're learning more. We're learning things sometimes don't work when they're implemented by our government. We're learning sometimes things do work when they're implemented by our government because America is this experiment of like how a society should be run, and it's been working for however long that we think. I think the pollution and a lot of the corruption that's happening in government and the military side, I think a lot of that does mess it up for what these inventors, innovations that are happening. And I just basically want to circle that back to I agree that AI is going to be crucial for people's success, and I want it to be like this. This sounds terrible. I want it to be a holistic success. Like I want everyone to succeed from it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it just sucks because we're relying on tech to have people act right. You know what I mean? Instead of people acting right and then using the tech the right way. Instead of if certain people have a $200 plan for an AI and other people can't access that, they got limited prompts. But the $200 one, I can use that to trade things, and all of a sudden there's a bigger wealth gap jump because of it. So like, there's just a whole bunch of
Yeah.
different things that could happen, and I'm just wanting to be optimistic about the future. But I think it
Yeah.
all starts with how we work locally, how because what we do locally can now be amplified globally. Even just this podcast, like I'm here in my office, you're in your office, and this is going to be accessible to the world. And I think that these type of conversations need to be had because I believe podcasts are a decolonization tool. We want to
Mm.
decolonize the things that like messed up a lot of cultures, but if we want to decolonize from that, we have to create something new. So I think podcasts that mobilize people into doing something in their community, reaching out, learning
Mm-hmm.
AI, learning how to tell their own story, learning how to pick up a camera. I think that your story and kind of how like you even got into it is gonna inspire someone to be like, oh shit, I could do that too. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, that's good stuff. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I think everything is kind of coming to a head. It's convergence happening in technology in general. And technology is everything from, the way we consume energy to the way we transport ourselves, the way we, gather and disseminate information. All of that is technology. And I just think like the big the the whole society, the whole economic system has been built on this model of energy storage that's really driven everything. Because I always think about like economics. Because when I first went back to college, I went to college for finance, and so I was, kind of an economics and business type of major. And so back then, I was just thinking about like, where does the economy start at? And it all starts at obviously resources, but it starts at energy, or in other words, our ability to get work done. And so we'll convert anything into an energy source so that we can get work done. And we've been doing that since the beginning of time, whether it be like inventing like a hammer so that we can hit harder. We're converting this kinetic energy into, a more powerful strike. And we've leveraged our way up to these forms of electricity and these forms of digital transactions that are happening. So you got
Processes.
electric.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think like the big shift that's gonna, as things come to a head, right? Because you got software and AI, you've got transportation evolving, you've got the industrial processes evolving. All of these different things are feeding this efficiency machine, if you will. And I think what's going to finally tip the scale and like we're going to fall off that cliff and it's going to be a free fall is clay batteries. I think they're working on clay batteries right now, and clay batteries are a like the most efficient store of energy that's of all the different, like more than nuclear. It's like safer and it's a better store of energy. I'm not saying nuclear can't produce more energy, but it these clay batteries, they bury them like thousands of feet, if not miles underground. And what the clay batteries do is they just store heat. And this is why I'm talking about energy, because right when you play a game of basketball, you're exerting force, you're producing heat. When you um when you grow a crop, you're taking the kinetic and wavelength energy from the sun and taking that through photosynthesis and taking that energy to produce, seeds and blah blah blah. And then the plant and all the animals and stuff eat it. And then we got steaks. So all of these processes are driven by heat transfer. And so what these really clever cats figured out is if you can store the heat itself and just recall the heat later, that's a more efficient way of storing energy than say a battery. And so they're called clay batteries, but it's really just using the absorption properties of clay to store heat. And then later, when you need it, you can take that heat and convert it back into electricity or whatever else to get work done. And so I think as they're building a massive plant. I think in Phoenix or just south of Phoenix, like in the Maricopa area. When we get these things all over the country, which I estimate it'll probably take us about 10 to 15 years for it to be like compelling, where it's like, yo, this is definitely it. Kind of like right now, we're in this like battery EV space. Over time, maybe we realize that form of battery wasn't the best way to do it. And in
Right.
10 years, there's different batteries or maybe something else for cars, but it won't be fossil fuels. It's going to be some other store of energy.
Hmm.
So just like that's happening, I think that's going to happen for our energy grid. And when we have abundant heat store or abundant like energy stores, then the UBI is inevitable. It's going to
Right.
happen. I don't know when that's going to be, and I'm not going to try to predict it. But all I'm saying is that you're like spot on with like this stuff is coming to a head, and it's not just about AI. It's about like all these different efficiencies are coming together, and somebody somewhere is going to have so much abundance. I don't even know what that's going to be like, but it's going to be like, I mean, come on, man. You have enough money to, y'all, this 450 people have enough money to basically fuel the whole world for 3,000 years. Like, help everybody out.
Right. Yeah, and that's what sucks though is the mindset. I don't think they have an abundance mindset. I think that they have a scarcity mindset, and so that's why I'm not saying they're hoarding the resources, because all money
Mm-hmm.
is just what is it called, a book,
I mean, we say surplus capital or surplus labor. It's just an ability to get work done in excess of what you actually need access to. That's
right.
all it is.
But think about so how money is. What is it called when you have like a book where the money comes in, the money goes out? What is that called?
Oh, it's
It's like a
like a
financial
ledger.
ledger. So that's what money
Ledger.
is. It's just a now it's just a digital ledger, like because
Mm-hmm.
the gold isn't backed by nothing. So like all this paper money, all this digital. So it's just a digital ledger. That's what money is. We believe in that. We operate off of that. We now we convert that to hours, which is crazy. But anyways, um, that scare. I think that scarcity mindset. I feel like that is. I think technology will help people get away from that because of the access to tech that everyone's going to have access to. Before, if you in the woods, you need shelter. It like and you need to get something to eat. And it was very disconnected. Now we're super connected. We're going to be even more connected. And they're trying to talk about Neuralink, all these things. I seen a while ago they had like this static electricity. They're trying to, or not stat, like the noise on the TV. Remember a TV, the white noise
Mm-hmm.
was like shh. They were. I seen someone trying to use that signal to emit Wi-Fi.
Mm.
So that means if you'll be connected at all times to Wi-Fi. Like I don't know where they're at with that, but just all these like innovations, they're spurred by creativity. Like another thing is the sun. Did you see the mini sun? I think China did.
Yeah, they was it the one they like proved it for like a couple seconds or
Yeah, it was
something,
like
and
a
they had to
thousand
turn it off.
seconds or something, but it was like 100 million degrees or something. So that is to fuel a quantum computer. Like so that they're not trying to make light for stuff, but whatever that is, whatever we get to, I think that
It's the little thing inside of Tony Stark's suit.
yeah.
Is
The little
it?
like a little mini reactor, but like what like I want us to get away from fossil fuels. I want us to have an abundant like 'cause I didn't even know about the clay battery thing you're talking about, but if there's like a clean energy, and I hate the word clean energy because they say some energy now is clean and it's not. It's like it's propaganda. It's like, oh, this type of
Mm,
hydrogen is clean and it's not. It's gas, or it's like blue hydrogen. Like they're just making they're greenwashing. Like you know how you whitewash history. They're greenwashing environmental issues. And they're like, oh, well, this is this, and like it's
mm,
wrong. But if we get an actual clean energy, like because right now there's nothing that's utilizing the ocean's waves and making it energy to power a city. They're using it for some
mhm,
things, but like how do we capture that? That like that's moving, that's inertia happening, that's a lot of kinetic energy. How are we pushing that to a clay battery or something? Just there's so much that we can theorize and think of. I think AI, quantum computing, I think is going to help us get there faster. And
mhm,
so I am optimistic in that. I do hate like, bro, I'm on this mic, this camera, my phone. Where I'm saying all this, but I'm using a technology that's messing up people's lives right now, you know?
mm,
So I have to be conscientious of like the work that I'm doing. And so the company that I work for, the org that I work for, like it's very huge on um doing the right thing with how the world operates, or how we utilize resources. We're calling out companies. We're calling out politicians who do deals that are under the table for their own success and their own power or whatever. But that to me is the scarcity mindset. I think that scarcity, it's literally scarce, but it scares people. Like and then they use their power to like push, like, yo, you should do it too. You don't want to be caught slipping. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I like the intentionality of where you guys are, because I think that's the abundance mindset. Um, I just like doing business, being in connection with people that are in the same alignment as me because of where we come from. We got to be creative because we have the lack of resources, and it's by necessity we have to be creative to just like Southern food, right? It was the scraps, and now that shit is like, oh, y'all make, so who make the best Southern food? Oh, they got the ham hocks. Oh, they, yeah, I mean the pig feet. Like that's the shit that no one ate. You know
Right.
what I mean? The greens, they didn't eat greens. You know what I mean? So like that creativity that we have as like cultures, I'm so optimistic because of seeing things like that. How I grew up and seeing and living that experience. Now I'm like, oh, the creators are the future. Like
Yeah.
we here, and we're going to be the ones that make it to where everyone can live in abundance.
Yep. It's coming, man. It's coming. So, just a little for everybody out there, man. If you're thinking of getting into the creative space, whatever it is, art, design, marketing, photography, video, tell your story. Whatever that story is, if you feel like if you got it in your gut to tell that story, tell that story. There's so many things I wish I would have told when it was fresh on my mind that now
Mm.
I'm just not in the right space to tell that story. Tell that story. At least write it down and make sure that it's captured somewhere because that is, I mean, they're trying to train these AI models and they're like, we don't have enough data points because
Mm-hmm.
AI cannot isn't context aware. It can't go back to 1997 when you were in, some of y'all wasn't even born yet, but yeah, when you were in when you were in elementary school and that feeling that you felt when you had to stand up in front of your class for
Right.
it can't understand that context, so you telling your story it works. It's powerful. It connects with people because that human experience. I don't know if AI will ever be able to, I don't care how many cameras they put in places. I don't know if AI will ever be able to tell the human's version of stories. So it's
Mm.
very powerful, is what I'm saying.
Well, thank you, brother. I think we can end that there because that's just a great way to encapsulate, one, what we're doing, but two, why we're doing it.
Yes, sir, man. It's a pleasure to be on here. I've always been told, like in the last couple of years, I've been told a lot, like I should speak more. So, I had to work on my image a little bit. I got the grays coming in. So you caught
Keep
me on
them.
a good day.
Keep the grades, bro. You gotta have the grades, bro. Like it shows your experience and wisdom.
That's what's
That's why I
up.
asked for you to be on the podcast. I was like, oh, he got grades now.
Yeah, yeah. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying.
Nah, good shit, bro. I appreciate you, man, for being on, and you're gonna be on again, bro, because we have experiences that add to our wisdom, and I appreciate you for sharing that. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure, man.